Maybe it's just, Nick, that I'm so sceptical. I'm so sceptical that the working class position will ever change. I know it could change, in actual fact. The working class position could change, but it won't change through the media. And that's why I'm so sceptical about the media. It won't change by films, television, papers. It will not change because, as you've just said, it's middle class views. It's controlled and owned by the middle class, who put across what is in their best interest. So in actual fact, I'm very sceptical about them ever changing the working class position. They just cannot. The only people who can change the working class position are the working class themselves.
Well, what do you think of me making a film down here?
Well, I don't think anything about it. You can come in, you'll make it, and it will have no effect. Like I've just said, it'll make people think for a few minutes, and that's all. But the position of the working class won't change. It won't change by you making a film, or for that matter, any other filmmaker coming in. It just won't make any difference. There'll be dozens of filmmakers we've seen on local estates. And
why do you think I'm making it then?
I'm asking you that. Why are you making it? It's only personal self-satisfaction. That's all that it must be. How can you get the injustice of it all unless you actually feel deeply enough about it? And the only way to feel deeply enough about it is for it to be bloody well happening to you. And it's not happening to you. Because at the end of the 3 months, you know you can go back home. I mean, how many of the working class are actually working at something that they want to do? We have this constant economic pressure on us all the time of trying to make ends meet, of trying to give your kids the best that you can. And the best is very little, believe me. The process of it never changes. They live a constant illusion all the time that somehow, someday, they're going to get out of it. Or maybe their children will do better than them. And that's why there's that constant struggle by many parents to try and get their kids out of it. But it is just really an illusion, because our position never ever changes. Never.
It stinks there. Normally, like, you're getting a good review now, but normally that, during the summer, that is full of human dung. Full of it.
The drains are down now because there's so many flats empty, there's not water getting used. But as soon as they are taken, the drains will start again. And it'll just go on like that, and on, until they're really dug up and seeing what's wrong with them underneath. But it has a lot of effect on your life and your children, because you've got nowhere to put your children, you've got nowhere to put a baby out to play. And in the whole of Kirkby, people living in flats are all in the same predicament.
They haven't built to specifications to include children. It's all they've built for is building's sake, but not to take the children into consideration. Have a look around here. Where on earth can children play? There's a field there, but it's barred off from children to play on it. Now, they can't play on there. It's against the law to play on there. So they've got to get on with living where they are living now. You've got fields all right over the back. You can't see them here for the grown-ups to play football on a Sunday. But there's no places for children to play. These councillors up here and the health, the welfare and a lot, they don't give a damn. I mean, this is supposed to be a new town, and it's all I can see about it is slums.
Have you tried changing things through your councillors or the court?
Well, as far as I'm concerned about a court and council, like, I mean, you know, there's no such a thing as court and council to the people living in Kirkby in these flats. these conditions they're living in here, the drains, there's no such a thing as law. What more does one have to do? Does he have to do everything and do everything for this cause to get something he wants to do? Because these tenants here have gone from the lowest, from the corporation, to the welfare, to the health, to Mr. Jeffrey Rippon, to Mr. Wilson, and they haven't done nothing about it. So what else do you expect of these people? Is it that they've got to take the law into their own hands to get something done, because this is the only way they're going to get something done? They're not going to solve the problem by the legal system, because as I've said before and I've said time again, the legal system in this country works for one set of people, and that is the higher up people in this country. The ordinary working folk who live in these live in these dwellings have got no chance whatsoever. So long as we get the rent off them, or let them live there, they're only pigs anyway.
I just dread another day in it, because there's nothing to look forward to. And if my children are around me, it's them I pick on all the while until my husband comes home from work, and then it starts on him. I go to the doctors, I try to explain it to him. He gives me nerve tablets, but they're no good. You take them, and you take some of them, you say they're not doing any effect on you. You go down for stronger ones. You just start all over again, same routine over and over. You just keep going for the bottle, and you get that way that you empty them all on your hand to go and take them. It's your children that stops you. I've taken some once. After the first 12 months I was up here, I took tablets. And I had to go in Walton Hospital and get my stomach pumped.
You're always worrying, you're living on edge all the while. You're worrying about what's going to happen next. You don't know what's going to happen next. But that psychological effect is always there to a person living there. To anyone who lives in these flats. Everyone who lives there. And especially over here. This girl here, up here.
She's a nervous wreck up here. And the children have been sick from the foul smell from the drains and everything. I'm only up here 4 months. I've no home of my own. And I've looked here for the comfort, but there's none here. Only filth. No chance of getting an exchange, no chance of a transfer. They tell you you're there for life.
You're talking about all the social problems, right? Like bad housing, schooling, work and so on. And I feel that you're somehow sort of hanging back and avoiding the political implications of it all.
Bloody social issues are why the way we are, the way the working class are, is mainly on social issues, and the social issues are based on the actual economics of the bloody country. The fact that the wealth of the country isn't spread amongst the people who actually produce it. No, it's no use saying that the social problems are irrelevant. I think you've got a bloody cheat to say that. Of course, then again, you haven't got a bloody cheat, because I can expect it from middle-class people who don't actually feel that the effects of social problems. Social problems are actually everywhere. They're in the schools with your kids. Your kids stand very little chance unless they're prepared to scratch their bloody way to the top of this so-called ideology that is pushed out to the kids. It's pushed out on television, it's pushed out in books, it's pushed out in classes, in education.
And what is this ideology?
This ideology of success, you can hear it from Edward Heath on the television any day of the week when he comes on. When he's on the television and he's pushing out this ideology about those who are prepared to work for it will find a better quality of life. And if we all pull together and all pull our belts in, all produce more productivity, put you back into it, and it'll be a better life for all of us. The gross national product and in the national interest. They are the two most famous sayings that we hear on television, the working class. The gross national product. Improve the gross national product. What that means in working class terms is work bloody harder than you are already doing.
Thank you. Will you sit down, please? Now, I wonder perhaps if I could ask, shall I ask Mr. J? Mr. Dalgleish will take over now, and then listen, a little group will come up to represent you in the same way that these gentlemen represent the Gideon Society. They will come up to represent you and receive testaments in a little while, and then later in the day you will all be receiving one of these.
Now, we all need help from time to time, don't we? We get discouraged, we get angry, we get sad. And if you look up in these pages here, you'll find where to turn in the Bible to find help through the Word of God. We would like you to read a little portion of your Bible every day of your life. Try and make a promise like John Nicholson did, and God will bless you for it if you do. You'll find you'll be helped as you go on through life. You'll all face problems when you go into the world. Mr. Dalgleish has problems, and I have problems. It doesn't solve them all for you, but it helps you to bear them. So look after your little testament, take care of it, and above all, please read it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. I wonder if the 8 young folk would like to come up now as representatives of the 400 in our first year, and perhaps receive one of these, and perhaps remain on the platform afterwards from Mr. Dalgleish. On behalf of the pupils here, I can promise you that we will put our names inside these testaments, and Mr. Jones and others will explain a little more about this testament. Many of you find that it exactly fits that top pocket. It's the very, very convenient, very, very nice size. So I can promise Mr. Dalgleish and Mr. J that we really will look after these. Do you know that they have given us nearly 5,000 of these over the years? And that really is very, very generous indeed. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Will you remain standing, please, while we... Thank you. Let's go back.
If you remember, in 1829, the police force as we know it today was first formed. There has been form of law and order since the year dot. Since man came on this earth, there's been a form of law and order. We must have law and order, because if you don't have law and order, there would be no such things as schools, because there'd be so many vandals, thieves, rogues, you name them, about, that these places just would never get off the ground. You know, the first few bricks would be laid and somebody'd come along and mow them down. There wouldn't be many people in the countryside because they'd be hiding somewhere, probably in caves, because of fear of being killed. And this is just what happens in a lawless state. Now then, a lot of young people say, why are the police coming in to give us a talk? I hate the police. In Kirby alone, there's a barrier, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but there's a barrier between the police and the public, and in the main, the young people, the likes of you, and possibly a lot of you are a little bit young to start thinking in terms of a hate-the-police relationship, but in a few years' time, there's no doubt about it, you'll start forming ideas. And it's our job today, and in the coming weeks and months, to try and break this possible barrier, or prevent this barrier from building up. Now, a lot of young people today hate the police or detest the police purely and simply because they get into trouble. They get into lumber. And one of the few things that you can help yourselves in trying to avoid coming into contact with the police, it's a very, very simple remedy if you think about it. Anybody, if you know somebody's done something wrong, for God's sake, tell somebody. Tell somebody. That is either in school, your teachers. Out in the street, if you see a policeman, tell him. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, but you're splitting on your mate. But which is better? If there was just you and your mate in a room which was burning, and there was only one way of escape, and there was only chance of one person to get out of that room, believe you me, your mate wouldn't think about you. They'd kick you in the teeth and say, I'm all right, Jack, I'm getting out. When your mate's shoplifting, think of number one. Think of the room that's burning. Would she or would I get out of that room? And once you've got that answer, then you'll know what to do. Think of yourselves. Report it. And in a lot of cases, you're helping your friend. To put you in the picture, what may happen to you, we'll go on to the punishment side of it. Detention centre, 3 months, short and sharp. But believe you me, the detention centre isn't very nice because you're away from home. Your day is ruled from the moment you start to the moment you finish. That's the attendance centre. You can then be placed into care, which means that for an unspecified length of time, probably until you are 18, you will remain in the care of the local authority. Now, there are certain boys and girls in this school who are in care of the local authority, and they're in care but still attending school purely and simply because all the approved schools, community homes, are full. But their turn will come. As soon as a vacancy arrives, they are sent away into care, which means that they are unruly, unfit to live in the town that they are living in. Therefore, they've got to be sent away to a different home, to a different environment. I walked across the roundabout on my way from this school, and about 50 yards in front of me were 3 lads, Roughwood lads, and for no apparent reason they started lobbing bricks at each other. Have you ever seen anybody with an eye hanging out? Have you? If anybody's seen anybody with an eye hanging out, put their hand up. Nobody. The other day, bricks were being thrown and a lad was struck in the face. It didn't hit him in the eye, but it hit him near to it. He fell in a heap on the floor, and when I got to him, his eye was hanging out. That's because idiots decided that they had a beef against Billy Bloggs, and they started throwing bricks at him. And this 3 lads from Roughwood, and I don't know, they may have been in this lot here. They may be here now, but they were throwing bricks at each other. So start thinking. Not a question of his eye being knocked out, it could be your eye knocked out. On the same token, it could be your mum, your dad, your granny, your auntie who was walking past at the time the brick was being thrown, and instead of the brick reaching the mark that you aimed it at or intended it for, it's hit mum, dad or whatever. And there you are, mum and dad are like that for the rest of their life. One eye. So just think of the harm it can do to others. I know that there's certain of you in this group this morning who aren't interested in what I'm saying. You'll walk out and say, that fella said, what he said to us this morning was a load of rubbish. Believe you me, and I can see you now, I've picked you out this morning. In a few months' time, I will be visiting your homes to lock you up. No doubt about it. I can see it in your faces.
Well, I'm sure you'd want me to say to Mr. Walker, thank you very much indeed for coming and talking to us this morning. I hope that you'll remember what they've said. It's all good advice. I certainly see a lot of the police in my job as a housemaster here, and certainly I see a lot of people in trouble. I wouldn't want to see any of you in trouble, and I hope that what you've heard this morning has helped in some way to keep you out of trouble. What we want you to remember from this morning is that the police are here to help you. They're your friends. They're here to help you. They're not after you. If you've done nothing wrong, then you've nothing to be afraid of.
Come in, young man. Now, perhaps you'd like to tell me what happened. What's the Christian name, young man, please? David, yes, David. Well, what happened, David?
So we was on the West Block just over there.
Yes, yes.
So me and Michael Linden were talking.
Yes.
And he had soap in his hands and washing his hands, and he put it all down my ear.
Yes. He rubbed the soap in your hair, did he? And where did that come from, David?
Sir, he was washing his hands. Sir.
In the toilets, was this?
No, sir. By the cookery room.
I see, yeah,
So
yes.
the soap's on the floor there.
I see, yeah.
My piece.
And then what? Go on.
I said, stop it, you. He said, why, what are you going to do? And booted me.
Yes.
So I hit him back and he run after me. And we both bumped into Mr. Godfrey.
Well, it wasn't quite like that, was it, David? I mean, didn't Mr. Godfrey try to separate you and
Yes,
you
sir.
sort of... Did you say get off to him, did you?
He said he grabbed Michael Linton and I moved away.
You just moved away, I mean, because Mr. Pilkington thought that
Sir,
you'd
Mr.
actually struck out at Mr. Godfrey, is that right?
So no, I hit Michael Linton with
You
me back,
hit-
but didn't move
Really?
to Mr. Godfrey.
Now, you hadn't provoked Michael in any way, had you? I mean, when he rubbed the soap in your hair, it wasn't because of something you'd done previously.
No, he was just laughing.
You're sure about that,
Yes,
are
sir.
you, David? And you're sure that it had to get to the situation where there was a fight? I mean, he kicked you, did he, when
Yes,
you
sir.
say get off? So he started the fight?
Yes, sir.
Because you are inclined to get into trouble from time to time, aren't you, David?
Yes, sir.
But you're saying that this time it was none of your doing, is that right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Strickland said I've got nothing to worry
You're
about.
sure?
now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you're certain that you didn't hit out at Mr. Godfrey?
Yes,
Because
sir.
Mr. Pilkington thought that was the case.
Said I meant to meet Michael Linden, but he hit Mr. Godfrey.
Yes, all right. Well, in view of what Mr. Stickland's told me, and in view of what Mr. Godfrey's told Mr. Stickland, I'll believe you, David, okay? So in a moment you're going to go back to your lesson, and I'll let Mr. Ireland know that you've been involved in this incident.
So Mr. Allen knows.
He does know, and also we're going to see, of course, that Michael Linden gets dealt with.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you are saying that he started the fight, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. Come in, Mr. Fairhurst. Yes, could you bring Michael in, please? Come in, Michael. What have you been doing this afternoon, Michael? With David Bennett. He hit you over the head with a bag. First? Before you did anything? Well, that's a rather different story from what David Bennett's just told me. You had soap on your hands and what? Go on. Ah, yeah, but what did you do previously with the soap on your hands, Michael? Hey? First, that was what you did first. He didn't do anything. Is that right to start off with? Is that correct? So you started it off. Is that right, Michael Linden? So when he hit you over the head with a bag, admittedly he shouldn't have done it, but he did have some cause, didn't he? Did you have any cause? Did you have any cause to rub the soap on his face or in his hair? Because he said it was in his hair as well. So who was to blame? And what happened as a result of that, Michael Linden? What happened as a result of you rubbing the soap in his face, on his face and in his hair? Yes, trouble. A fight. A real, genuine fight. Is that not right? Did you not kick him at one stage? Well, he says you did, young man. Well, whether you did or you didn't, it doesn't seem to be matter to me. Because we had the undignified sight of you and David Bennett having a scrap in the middle of the school grounds, which I'm sure didn't do you any good. It didn't do David Bennett any good, and it didn't do the atmosphere of the school any good. And I think if we ask Mr. Fairhurst about your general behaviour, Michael Linden, we'll find that there are other things you do wrong as well. Is that correct, Mr. Fairhurst?
Certainly is, Mr. Donnelly. This boy had to be sent home to see his mother and father several times in the past few months for bad behaviour. The behaviour includes obscene language to members of staff on 3 occasions. I've leant over backwards to give this boy every chance I can, and because his mother has difficulties at home and the family problems, and Michael and I get on very well, but he knows that when he steps out of line he's going to get in trouble. And as I say, on 3 occasions he's used obscene language to a member of staff.
Is that correct, Michael? Hey? I mean, it's all yes sir, no sir now, isn't it? 15 in November. No longer a little boy, Michael, a young man. That's what you should be. Now, would you call your behaviour at this lunchtime, your behaviour in the classroom where you've sworn at members of staff, grown up? Would you? Well, when are you going to grow up then, Michael? Hey? When are you going to grow up? Well, perhaps you don't know the answer to that yet, Michael. Perhaps it is a difficult question. But let me tell you here and now is that you need to grow up pretty fast. And part of growing up is realising that when you're given good advice, you take it, Michael.
You're a working class person, you're trying to give in a middle class ideology. It's ridiculous. It's a contradiction to be told when you go into school that if you sit down and do your lessons and you abide by law and order and you do as you're told, that eventually that you're going to be all clean and smiling and rosy when a poor bloody kid gets back home and there's 5 or 6 of them stuck in a bleeding pissed up bed. If they send a careers officer along, then they should send a dole officer along with them to say, in the event that you don't get one of these fantastic careers, this is the place you'll have to come to, where we'll give you a card and you'll sign on once every week. Not telling them what fantastic careers that they can have if only that they do the right things and obey the right rules. At 15 years of age, when they leave school, they discover that the outside world isn't what they were taught when they were in school, because they'll end up as factory fodder, in factories and in dead-end jobs. If it was equal opportunities and equal job opportunities like they're taught in school, it'd be Christ of the middle classes and the ruling classes, because who the bloody hell would run them bloody factories and produce the bloody wealth that they hold? They're pushing out a myth to them kids that you need not go into a factory.
I left school at the age of 15 and a half. Rufford Comprehensive School. I went to work in a factory alongside with many of my classmates. We worked there for 2 years in different factories. And at the age of 19 and a half, I got married. I have 2 children, a boy and a girl. And I am now 25. I work from 6 till 2 and 2 to 10. But in actual fact, you have to leave the house at 5. You know, to get in for work at that time, 6. So you're out the house 10 hours every day. Now I'm up at 4:30 when I'm on the 6 to 2 shift. I get up at 4:30, leave the house at 5. It's very tiring. You come in at 2:30, you might have a sit down then, but you still have to get up and, you know, you have to catch up on the housework that you've missed out through the day. You know, you have to have everything done by 5 o'clock for your husband coming in, then you have to start cooking. So it could be something like 6 or 7 before you're sitting down again of a night. You have to try and be in bed by 9 or 10 at the most, so that it doesn't take it out to be too much. I have to get all the kids' clothes ready for school the next morning. I can't think of going to bed until that's done. I think the children suffer the most, because you know, you're tired, so you're just one cobby, and you take it out on the kids. You've got no patience with them, you know, and they haven't really done anything wrong. What I'd like, you know, for my husband to get enough wages so I don't have to work. That's what I would like to see. Men getting a lot more money than they get, and the women wouldn't have to work, you know, they could stay at home with the children. And we may even be afford to have a holiday, you know, if he was getting more wages. That would be my ideal, you know, to travel around. We spent 3 months in Ireland at one time, and we had a marvellous time. But we just bummed around, we didn't have the money, we just sang for the money, you know. We did a lot of busking in the streets. You know, my husband's a folk singer, and there was 8 of us, you know, 4,004 girls, and you know, they did the singing and we went round and collected in the can. There were made up others over there. One little town we went to, there was only 3 pubs there, and they were all fighting for whose pub we were going to go in, you know. They had sandwiches piled high, come in this pub, you know, come in. This is the way they were carrying on, it was great.
even the police, you know, were guiding the traffic by, you know, so the people could still stand by and listen to us, you know. Really marvellous. We even stayed in caves. We even slept in caves, you know. Went swimming at midnight, you know. Doing all the things that people dream of doing that just don't have the nerve to do, you know. It's just a shame that there's not more money circulating around the working class instead of around the bloody big bosses, where they don't appreciate it and we need it and we haven't got it. It just seems a shame. The money should be more evenly distributed, you know, between people.
I have different concepts of democracy now, as I'm sure many other people involved in this rent strike have different concepts of what democracy is supposed to be. I mean, what is a country without its people? And the majority of this people in this country are hard working class people, and is a piece of bloody repressive legislation directed at their homes, their families, the way they live, the roof over their heads, means tested to be able to pay the rent. They don't get sufficient wages coming into the house. Their husband works God knows how many hours to get a pittance, and his rent is taken off him. They were acting like parasites against us, Nick, like parasites. So what way do you think that we should react against it? What way do you think we should react? If the pressure becomes so hard on us, what way can we react? We can only react one way, and that is we either stand up and fight, or we accept totally exactly what is happening to us, and our situation becomes worse.
We've had price increases, rent increases. We've had phase 2 of the prices and incomes policy. Our wages have been frozen, rent is going up, prices are going up. The fight against the Housing Finance Act is basically a fight against the economic system what exists in this country. The Housing Finance Act and the rent increases was the last straw for the people on this estate. It's no coincidence that we've got a total rent and rate strike on Tower Hill. When you look around you see the circumstances that the people are living in. The main item on the agenda tonight, obviously, is these county court orders. It's almost 1 year to the day that we have to appear in court for contempt of court for refusing to recognise the court. Now, later on in the meeting there'll be a discussion about how best to combat these contempt of court orders, and obviously this can only come through supporting industry. What we intend to do is, first of all, arrange a series of meetings with shop stewards throughout Kirkby and leaflets every major factory on the Kirkby industrial estate, giving an outline of the situation on Tower Hill and the possibility of tenants being jailed, not for contempt of court, but for fighting the Housing Finance Act, an act which is specifically designed to double or treble the rents of council houses. In other words, council housing are going to be taken out of the role of social necessity and placed into the profit-making industry. Now, the point is, do we let the bailiff take someone away, if he comes, or do we blockade the road off again and just escort the bailiff off the estate empty-handed? I think it's going to take a lot of discussion on this about the best tactics we're going to use. Yes, Pat?
If they're going to lift someone, as we point out and say time and time again, they're going to do it, it would be futile to have any kind of resolution saying that we will not have anyone lifted up Tower Hill. As has been pointed out time and time again, they can come and lift anyone at any particular time, even go to the firm, lift anyone there, stop you in the street, wherever they want, they can pick someone up and lift them.
Look, we're in chains. We're in chains, and I'm not going to volunteer to go to the county court and go into a straitjacket. I'll stay in chains rather than go into a straitjacket. And as for contempt of court, the whole rotten system's beneath my contempt, and I'm not going. We're not going to win this thing going down on our knees. We're only going to win it. It's to defy them and let them worry about it. There's 14 days or whatever it is in jail is going to stop my kids' rents going up in the future. I don't mind, I'll go willingly. I think a lot of people will do the same thing here tonight. And that's only my own point of view. I'm only one of the 32. If there's anybody here who's got one, let's hear what they say about it. Mr. Stone.
If the bailiffs do come on the estate and they find that they've got to go to somebody's place of work to lift them, maybe that's the opportunity to find out just how much industrial support we're going to get. See, if the people on the shop floor, you know, stop the bailiffs from taking any work out of the day, I think it's a good opportunity. I think we should have the leaflets in the factories before this happens.
That the leaflets that stop evictions, stop...
Yeah.
Well, it went through last Saturday and it was supposed to get duplicated last Saturday afternoon. So if anyone goes to the Labour Club, there's I think it's 10,000 and they're waiting for you. So if someone can pick them up tomorrow night, we can arrange for people to distribute them outside the factory on, say, Friday morning, if people are willing to do it. So let's get that out the way first. How many people are willing to give these out or take them into their own factories?
The tenant themselves on rent strike have gone as far as they can. They've done this now for a year. The time has come now to point out that there's no difference, there's no split between tenant and worker. There's always been this split between us, and the authorities have always used a wedge between us. We've got to come together. We're all one and the same person. The tenant is the worker, and the worker is the tenant. If a tenant is in prison, I think now it's the time for the industrial workers to use the weapon that they have, which is a strike.
If you're called on to withdraw your labour, would you do so when we were victimised?
You don't make decisions like that, just a spur of the moment, do you?
No, certainly not. Would you consider coming out?
Well, I don't know. We pay our rent, so...
Do you not think it's a bad law?
We pay the full rent, so that's all I know.
Yeah.
So.
Do you not think that tenants who are standing up against this bad law should deserve your support?
Well, if I had my civilian suit on, I'd speak more to you, but...
Yeah. Your civilian suit or your civilian mind?
Well, I mean, it had...
When he's got his civilian suit on, we're coming down to ask him, will he support us?
Still rolling.
Well, today's news is that the court has suspended its proceeding in the outstanding cases. I can't speak. Why can't I speak anymore?
Too cold.
You're rolling?
Oh, yeah.
Give it another go.
Okay.
Well, today's news is that the court has suspended its proceedings in the outstanding cases for 14 days. This to allow the rebel tenants to change their minds if they so wish. Some of the families concerned have said they're quite willing to go to jail rather than pay up. But the strike organisers told me this morning that if any of the families didn't want to go to jail, they'd be protected. There's a list of telephone numbers so that defences can be summoned as quickly as possible. And there's even an advance warning system. In fact, we triggered off that system this morning when we arrived. It's a high-pitched, squeaking siren which sent people scurrying all over the estate. Cut it there. At the moment, with both sides firmly committed to sticking to their ground, there's clearly going to be no easy way out to end the Kirby rent strike.
set up over here and see some houses.
You know, I like to say, because we have a bit of order and make the, meeting orderly, but, what I'd like to ask our brother there is, why at this vital moment have you decided to go down to the court? You know what, I haven't attended these meetings for quite a few months because I'm on nights, but tonight, I'm staying off late to come here. And, I've got a court order, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as defeat, even if you do get defeat. And the way I look at it, that we're being attacked on all sides, prices, rent, anything. And for you as the chairman to stand up at the most vital meeting, the one before we go to court, or before we get direct to court, or direct to what was here, whatever you like to have it, for you, the chairman, to stand up and cut the legs from under every person on here. I'm only glad I'm sitting with people with bottle in here, not with the likes of you as the chairman. Why didn't you say weeks ago to these people, I'm feeling that we're heading for defeat? No, you might have this feeling like you're heading for defeat, but the feeling of this meeting is that they're heading for defeat. These are still saying that they'll take on. You take a policy and you go right to the bitter end with that policy, and once you're defeated on the policy, you take another one. But not just cut the policy, not just cut the policy and let some under the policy before it's gone. No, you were in one of the key positions. When it gets around all the meetings that the chairman bails out, it's like the general bailing out, or one of the leaders. That is it. That's total surrender.
Morris did say, in his opinion, we should go down there and massively defy the court. Now, I don't think we should do that, in case anyone gets any ideas, because there's 18 people, that's 36 tenants, man and wife, going down to that court. And of 18 of them standing at that dock, all together, you've got to remember what the atmosphere is like in a court. You've got fellows floating around in long black robes. There's a fellow with a wig sitting high above you who's going to intimidate the life out of you. And even if 17 say, I'm not accepting it, I'm not accepting this, you just need one to crack. And it's quite easy done in a court like that. He'd be intimidated, something terrible. And when he cracks, the 17 will crack. And when they crack, we might as well wrap their hands like up. We're better staying away from that court.
John Miller and then Pat McElhinney.
No support. I've been round and so have a lot of other people giving leaflets out. A fortnight ago, I went over to Stanlow and I got a great response. They give a donation to the action group. Certainly, we will call a mass meeting as soon as any tenant is jailed. And the same goes for other firms. I've said the very same too. Mass meetings will be called and there'll be withdrawals. We have got loads of support right throughout the area. Go to the stewards, tell the stewards, Stanlow for one. Come over and tell us, they said. And then we'll call a mass meeting. Brian and everyone else has gone right through. We've got loads of support, loads of industrial support.
I, in the first instance, when we got the first court orders, thought it would have been better for us to appear in court. Nevertheless, I abided by the majority. I said, well, if this is what the majority want, we ignore the courts. And I'd like to appeal to Morris to think about it and don't go down there. And don't think about Tower Hill, don't think about the people here. Think about the struggle in general throughout the country. By going down there tomorrow, if you do as you have stated here, and you give them no information whatsoever, not only have you caused a major split here, you've gone completely against the group's policy, which as chairman is utterly wrong, but you're only making a martyr of yourself, which is bad. This rent strike doesn't want martyrs, it's got to be collective. It's too big for martyrs. And I would say here and now, I'd appeal to you not to go and keep up the stand that we've all kept up for the last 13 months.
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy. And honestly, I've tried to state that sooner than stand up in front of the people, like myself,
I admire you
and go on the
hill,
I'd sooner go and stand in front of the dozen judges, because as far as I've been said, I don't have to answer judges, I have to answer the people. And if there was any possibility, at least, I'm not going to tell you any lies, if there was any possibility of me boycotting the court in the morning, I wouldn't be standing there making a bloody fool of myself. The fact of the matter is that whether I go to court or not, and this is what I didn't want to say, whether I go to court or not, my missus is going to go.
By the
Keep it out.
Right. Shut this door.
Shut that door. Mind your way. Take a picture of the left.
Get his number.
I'll wait till you're down and then I'll wait. We're standing in the train now.
Hey, leave that door.
I'm walking.
Come on, come out. Have to solve that.
Hey! You're going to have to beat her a bit. Now leave. Let him go.
So you can pick on me, baby.
I have a right to be there.
Don't talk to him, Billy. You'll end up in the
I have a right to
pigsty.
be in there while that meeting's being held. This is the second time in 12 and a half years I've ever had to go into a council meeting. The only way I've had to get in is by forcing my way.
You only understand.
Twice in 12 and a half years, mister. How
Well,
about
it's funny
other
how they
people?
taught me languages at school, isn't it, sir?
Well, all the...
Why are you here?
I've already told you why we're here.
Well, he can't speak for you, I'm asking you, you're another person.
Well, I'm here for the same reason, love.
Why?
To protect the likes of you.
To protect the likes of me. Well, we're telling you we don't need your protection.
All right, then.
You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. So why don't you admit that you're only here to protect property and people like that that's in there? Why don't you admit it? Instead of coming out with a cliche like you're here to protect the public. I mean, you're on the television, you're in adverts, we're here to protect you. Why make a fallacy about a thing like that when it's rubbish? Why don't you admit these things instead of trying to pull wool over people's eyes? And using them?
I'm not, love.
You are. I mean, can you honestly say that you're here to protect me and now then?
All the policemen here are here to protect you.
To protect me? Well, why do they use violence? Why have they just turned my husband's hair out coming out down the stair? Why did they throw me down
I don't
the
know why
stairs?
they did
Bastard! Fascist!
Would you say the rent strike has changed you at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically I'm still the same. Before the rent strike, it was doing, you know, looking after the house, seeing to the kids, getting one off to school. What I was going to do for the tea, have a talk to some of the women, you know, about babies and the problems you have with them. Someone's baby's got a sore bottom or they've got teething troubles, you know, things like that. Now, I still talk about things like that, but there's a lot more to it, you know, it goes a lot more deeper, even the kind of conversation like that, when you're talking about babies and you talk about the clinics that they go to. You're no longer discussing the baby's teething problems, you start talking about the clinics and the kind of clinics that's there for you. And when you start talking about what you're going to do for the meal, you know, for the tea at night, you start talking about prices then, which is something that I never, ever done before. I knew that there was problems there, but I didn't think that they were pointed at me. I didn't think they had anything at all to do with me. I've changed in that respect. I question everything that comes along now. And if in any way I think that it can save, you know, my own kids and anyone else's kids from being in the same position or an even worse position, well, I think it's about time that we decided to do something about it. I mean, I've seen a completely different side to the police.
Comrades, fellow tenants and trade unionists, there's no need for me to state why this demonstration is being called here today. To support Brian Owen, who's been arrested and wrongfully imprisoned. He was arrested by bailiffs bursting down a front door last Monday morning and dragging him out of his home in front of his wife and 2 kids. Since last Monday, Brian Owen has been kept in solitary confinement. Mr. Owen's only crime was to have been on rent strike in protest against the Tory government's Housing Finance Act.
Yes, thank you, Alpha 100. Could you check the logbook you have in your possession, please, and see if there's the one for your name.
When we get that out, please take He's just hit the prison! Death-alize him!
Comrades, the disturbance which is taking place has been caused by a police inspector driving into one of the demonstrators. The police inspector's breath smells of alcohol.
This is a picket. This is a picket. This is a peaceful picket.
Stay that side. Stay that side. That side.
The police inspector has been hustled inside the jail to be given a cup of tea and coffee and to sober up, no doubt. The car has been driven away by a police constable. No statement has been given to the press by the police. They declined to comment. As you all know, there are more criminals in the police force than there are inside that building there. Comrades, will you please gather on the forecourt? We do intend to hold that meeting come what may. Will you please form a picket line around this car so that the police cannot move it? Thank you. This vehicle will not be moved until Mr. Owens is back amongst us once again.
That's what it's done for me. I mean, I know that I won't end up like my mother and father. I know I'll never be like my mother anyhow. If nothing else, I do think for myself. And I can talk to people and I can have my own opinions. I can hold, you know, an intelligent conversation with people, whereas I would, you know, If I had never have been involved in the rent strike, I'd just be a carbon copy of what my own mother and father are, you know. And Christ, God forbid, I mean, if I stayed like that, well, that's what my kids would be like as well. Unless they could see it in themselves when they were growing up and they decided to do something about it. And that's the whole thing, generation after generation, it's passed on, tradition is passed on, and nobody ever seems to realise what's happening to them, you know.
It's done something for their way of life, which means they will never ever be satisfied again, Nick, with all sorts of paltry excuses that are given to them. Why the cost of living goes up. They will question it. They will question why the cost of living goes up, just like they question why their rent should double, and why they discover that in actual fact they only pay a small percentage of rent, and the rest of it goes to finance houses for interest. So they question why these people who have finance houses require such large amounts in profit out of people's misery. They question it. That's a very, very significant thing. So to me, it's a fantastic battle, but it's also a fantastic victory. It's a fantastic victory inasmuch as that people come out of that fight a much more wider person in every sense of the word.